PowerApps got a new vibe today, right? What does that mean? It means today at Ignite, they announced vibe.powerapps.com, where you can create a new type of Power Apps, right? So we've had Canvas apps, we've got model-driven apps, and now we've got vibe apps or code apps, right? So the idea is that we're going to use natural language, our words, to tell it what we want. It's going to use a new version of the plan designer to build the app, figure out all the requirements, build the data underneath it, and then create us a fully working app. The twist being is instead of it being a Canvas app or a model-driven app, it is going to be a code-based app. It's going to be built in React. So this is a new, complete world for us. So I thought we'd make this quick video to kind of walk through it, explain how it works, and help you guys get started. So if that sounds like fun, then let's switch over to my desktop and take a look. All right, so the first thing we need to do is we need to go to vibe.powerapps.com. Now, when you land here, if it gives you a message that you don't have access, what it might be is that it does not work in the default environment. So what you need to do is just in the bottom down there, there'll be a button. You can click on that, and then you can say switch my environment to, and then switch it over to whatever you want other than the default environment, and that should work. Other than that, keep in mind that this only works in the US region right now. Hopefully it'll get done faster. It only works for US-based browsers, and you must have at least a system customizer to do it, right? So there are some requirements there, and hopefully I just put those on the screen, but keep that in mind. You're going to have to make sure you're in the right place. Now, once you're here, you're going to see we have a whole new home screen going on here. So here we've got a different interface, right? We've got the home tab, the plans tab, and the apps tab. And so the home tab is where we're going to go to build, get started. We got some different suggestions here. We can see the plans that I've already built. So I've built this app once just to kind of give myself a good run through. And then, right, so this would be where I'd look at the actual plan, which you'll see in a second. And this would be if I just wanted to run the app. Over here, same thing, but just breaking just the plan section down and just the app section down. So nothing too earth-shattering here. Down at the very bottom, also we have my little initials. And so this is where I could change the session to be a different one if I wanted to get it, or not in session, but environment to a different environment if I needed to. Okay. So if we go here to home, what you're going to do here is you're going to just run off at the mouth at what you want to build, right? So I'm going to do something like this. Create an app for incident reporting. Name it incident report. No shocker, right? Allow the user to start a new incident, provide incident categories and severity for them to pick from, allow them to provide details, witness statements, etc. After they submit the incident, there should be a button to take them back to the welcome screen. From the welcome screen, there should be an option to view existing incident reports. Create a light dashboard that quickly provides an overview of the type of incidents we have. All right, so this was just me rambling a whole bunch of thoughts that I was having around what the app needed to be. So you might have these thoughts. These are kind of technical thoughts, kind of building an app kind of guy. But it could just be, like I watched Nicola upstairs do it earlier. When she did it, it was just, hey, here's all the things that I do in my meetings that I want to manage, right? So she wasn't talking about screens and what's going on. She just kind of painted a picture of what was happening and went that route. So you do not have to be as technical as I was there, but just write down whatever you're thinking about the app that you want built. Now, before you hit go here, I want you to note that there's this little guy here, enhance the prompt. So if we click on this, what it's going to do is it's going to look at your prompt. So it's using another large language model, and it's going to take my prompt and make it better, right? And so you can see that it started to do things like it added the different incident categories. It added the severity level. It provided some of the field names. So this is nice because this is saying, hey, this is the level of detail I should have used. Well, what do you do? But also I can look at it and go, well, I don't want to have low, medium, high, and critical, right? Maybe I want to have urgent. So now in my head, right, I kind of know that I can fill in all this stuff. And if I get this wrong now, I can do something about it later. So I don't have to get hung up on getting it perfect out the get-go. But as you start to build this and start to get more used to this idea of vibe coding, then you're going to want to, get more used to providing the level of detail. And so this will enhance the prompt. It's kind of coaxing me along of hey, this is more of what you want to do. So now we're going to hit go. And so then now this is going to start to run Plan Designer. Now, if you've ever used Plan Designer over in traditional Canvas apps today, right, it's a very similar interface. The difference here, though, is it's just doing it all at once, right? It is not walking me through the steps. It is not expecting me to provide any feedback. We can come back and edit this stuff later, but right now it's just jumping straight in. And as you can see, it's made the plan, it's onto the data level, and then here in a moment, it will start spitting out the app for us. We could go back over here to the plan if I wanted to just kind of see what was going on. And remember, we'll customize these later if we need to, but we can see that it's kind of already laid out some of the pieces. And then now, right, the data is done as well. notice all the tables are in draft, and notice that they're all in Dataverse. So if you saw my video on the app builder agent, right up there for M365, that one built everything in SharePoint because it was inside the Microsoft 365 ecosystem. This one is a much more robust version of what was over there. Like, not version, like they're not peas in a pod, but there's some similarities. But so this one's a lot more robust, and this one today builds everything into Dataverse. And so it's showing you all of these pieces here for the Dataverse. And then if we went to the app tab, you can see over here, it's walking through the process of writing the code, right? It's writing React code. Now, if you're like, Shane, I don't know React. I don't know React either. It's okay, right? It's going to write it all, and when we want it changed, we're just going to use our words. But there you go. You can see the app is starting to pull in and be built. So we're going to give this a few moments more here. So I'll just hit pause instead of rambling while it finishes. Okay, so it probably ran for about 2 minutes while I was off, or on pause there. And remember, like, that's normal. It's going to take it a few minutes to run, and that's not going to change. They're not expecting it to run faster. But now it's done. And so now it's done. This little thing, if it annoys you, just hit the little eyeball here and it'll kind of hide it. If you want it back, you hit the little blue guy here, it comes back, right? Well, trick of the trade. But so now it's like, all right, here is your incident report. So you've got start new incident report, you got incident log, you got insights, we got a little dashboard here, the recent incidents. Like, let's go to the dashboard. So we can kind of see that we can build out this. That's pretty robust. That's much more robust than the first time I did this. And if we do a new report, let's make sure it works. So let's just go in here and give it some info real quick. So we have incident title of spilt milk, right? And I think that is a safety thing, the severity. Oh, look, there's our urgent. So it did take our what we put in there earlier. So let's just make this a low incident description. But he was being crazy and knocked over the milk. We have a date. We have a time. Pretty cool. It defaulted to my local date and time. That's the right time. That's pretty cool. What location? That was the break room. Witness statements. We could add one of those. And so then the witness name was me. So contact info statement, right? You don't need to watch me type all that in, but we add the witness statement, and it does look like we could even have multiple witnesses, right? And we add her. Yep. So we can even have multiple witnesses. Perfect. And then now if we submit the report, whoop, there it goes. And there is spilt milk. I keep thinking I wrote split milk. Split milk's probably even grosser than spilt milk, right? But there you go. So it has been ran. Now, can I go in here and click on it? So it looks like, that's analyzing that one. But if I go here to incident list, what I want to do is see like the witness statements. All right. So it didn't do that. Well, that's annoying. So over here on the right or left, this is the left, we're going to do in something like this. When viewing the list of incidents, I want to be able to click on the incident and see all the details and witnesses, and I should be able to edit the info. So this is the vibe and vibe coding. So I found something I didn't like. Either it wasn't working the way that I expected to, or didn't, just miss the whole feature. I'm just adding a brand new feature, right? So we have the ability to go in there, we pass in a prompt, and then it is going to process and rewrite the page. And hopefully when it finishes, we'll be able to click on this and then be able to edit, not just this whole idea of analyze. Hey, do you find yourself overwhelmed by all of this AI stuff, right? Like PowerApps, Copilot Studio, all of these things. Remember, over at training.powerapps911.com, I've got several different classes, both live and on-demand courses that'll help you continue to move this, forward and understand what's possible with AI. Or if you're ready to help your company actually start to become a frontier corporation, right? Or you want to start to move forward to start implementing this stuff. Here at PowerApps 911, we are helping some of the biggest companies in the world already build and roll out their AI agents and stories, and incorporating AI into their existing Power Apps and their workflows. So please reach out. We're happy to help you. All right, back to the video. All right, and so it finished. Notice here it always is streaming what it's doing. So if you're ever curious what's going on, you get an idea, behind the scenes what's happening, the thought process and all that. So then if we go back here to app, and now if we click on spilt milk, we say open, and then it looks like this kind of takes us to that dashboard we were in before. But now if we click on this one, we have the ability to actually see our record. We can make edits, and all right, we should be able to make our changes here. Oh, you know what? These didn't save, did they? Let's change them. Save. All right, so let's go out and see if that's still broken. All right, so we'll try this again. We'll click here. So it says security now, which is what we just changed it to. Open, spilt milk edit. All right, and so then now these fields aren't defaulting correctly. So then we would need to, provide that feedback. Now, another way to provide feedback is over here on the left. If you click on toggle inline edits, we can do this. This is going to help us select different pieces in our app here. So if we were to click now we could say something like, all right, category and severity are not showing the previously saved values. So these little tiny boxes are very hard to show on demos. But now we can press enter. And so now it knows, right, it has the context. So by doing the inline edit and saying, hey, like, here's where I'm at, I didn't have to describe like what page I was on or, hope that it would get that right. So then this should provide it the correct context. So it should be able to jump straight to fixing that particular problem for us. So let's give it a couple minutes here. Okie dokie, it looks like it finished up. It told us what it did. So let's just kind of start back here at the home. Let's click on our old split milk edit. That's cracking me up to keep saying. And then we'll click in there. And so now it is saving those properly. Now you could say they don't look grayed out like that. So then maybe we want to go back and prompt it again. We're not going to do that, right? Every prompt can take a couple minutes to get fixed. And so while that is important to you getting to the end result, it's not important to the video. So, all right, so now what I want to talk a little bit more about is just some of the UI that's going on here. So up here at the top, we are currently in preview mode, right? It's letting us interact. You could switch to code mode. If you want to go see what is all of that crazy React and all the pieces that are getting put into place here, you can absolutely see them. Keep in mind, you cannot edit this. I imagine somewhere in the future we might be able to edit this. They have not said, but it seems reasonable, right? But today you can see the code, look through it all, but you're not going to be able to change it. And then of course you can go into a split screen mode as well. And at any point you want to refresh the app, right? That's just going to cause it to reload. So boom, there it is. We can also toggle up and down, right? Really, this is where you're going to want to live, right? We're not here to write React. We're here just to get an app. On the data tab here, so this is showing you, hey, here are the different Dataverse tables that will be generated, right? Notice they all say draft. So that is a reminder to you that they have not been saved. All the things that we're saving right now, the whole buddy spilt milk thing is being saved in memory. So it's not real yet. Now, if we were to click on any of these, right, we could go here and say we could view the data. So we see all of our options. We could edit the data here. We can, edit our column. Maybe we don't like the fact that it called it severity name. We can use the different ones. Like hopefully you've seen this interface before in, existing PowerApps, Canvas apps where we work with these tables. And so we have that same or very similar to that experience. Now, also keep in mind here, if you're like, hey, I already have a table for severity level. I don't want to create a new one. So it does not today use existing tables. But what you can do is you could go here and you could say, hey, I want to remove this table. And then you could go up here and say, add an existing Dataverse table. And then you would add the table and then you would set up the relationship and it would take that, right? So you could wire in or pull in your own existing Dataverse content. So that's pretty cool. You can add your own tables as well. Let's see what else. So we have the create relationships. Then obviously we can only view data if we're on one of these nodes, right? So view data, there you go, that lights up. And then there's the remove. So yeah, nothing too exciting there, but just good to know that you do have access to manipulate this data and it's not been changed at this point. Now I will tell you that when we publish this in a few minutes, like it then can't go back and edit it. So it's only going to be able to edit these tables up until the first time they get created. At that point, you would have to take over the edits. So just kind of keep that in mind as well. And then speaking of edits, if we go here to plan, so there's our original statement. Here are the user roles that it brought out with that. You could edit these, right? So if after you wrote this statement, you weren't happy with what it did, you weren't happy with the app it built, right? Come back in here and rework your user requirements. You can do it manually through this interface. You could go over here to the prompt and add user requirements, but you can continue to refine the plan as you would expect. Scrolling down the page, that is our data model we just talked about, right? Like there's nothing really different here than you would expect, I don't think. And then the technology. So the technology, it is going to build the app for you, right? Now it's saying, hey, you would need a workflow for submission confirmation and data export. And let's say what C all does. Anything? Oh, and it even wants an agent, right? So it wants 4 different things. Very important to note here, it is only going to create the incident report app. So if you wanted these flows, this agent, you would need to go build those yourself today. That is different, right, than the plan designers and Canvas apps today that will build all of these pieces for you. So just keep that in mind, right? While they're both, have a very similar feel, they both came from the same place, they do different things. Now, do I think that you'll continue to see this, advance and move forward? I would be shocked if you didn't, right? But, just something to keep in mind. Don't be like, well, where's my workflow? It's not creating your workflow. Okay? So that's that piece. Now, if you look over here in the top right, this is showing you, so these are the different agents. So you don't care, but just in case you're wondering what they are, these are the different agents that it uses. So those are different, agents they built to do different tasks here. It's not just one super agent thinking about it all. Each one has its own roles and specialties. Not important. You're not going to mess with these. You're not going to touch these. But if you're wondering what they were. Now, what is important though, is that your app right now, all the work that we've been doing here for the last umpteen minutes together, I don't know how long it's been anymore, it has not been saved, right? So if my browser timed out, if I walked away, if the power went out, I would lose everything at this point. So one of the things you want to think about is up here when you need to hit save, right? So when I hit save, this is saving my plan. So now I could come back to it if, something happened bad, right? I forget, timeouts, internet authentication, all the reasons that a browser session goes bad. So probably the very first thing I should have done with you guys after we got that first version of the app, before we started even iterating, is I probably should have hit save then. I forgot. I often forget. But don't be like me. Save your work. All right. And so now it's saved. So then over here, what else we have? We have settings, right? Just your session details here. And then, give feedback, right? The product team reads every ounce of feedback. You got feedback, read it. I know that my friends over there, they really appreciate their feedback. Now, if we're happy with our app, let's go back here to app. So from the app screen, right, we got to make sure that we're like, yay, it's good. And remember, you can also ask it to change colors, design, right? You use your words, you change things. We're not going to make any more changes. But now that we're ready for the app to be real, right, now we can hit publish. And so when we do our publish here, this is then when it's going to publish it to, in our case, Dataverse, and then it will actually be Dataverse tables, right? And the data will be saved, and the realness happens, right? So just keep that in mind. All that happens when you do that first publish. Now I will say here, it says select a data source, and there's only Dataverse. Between you and me, that makes me think that they have visions of additional data sources being able to push this too. So I think that's kind of cool, right? Today we can only build it out to Dataverse. But if we hit publish, so now it's taking, all that stuff is in a solution. It's deploying that solution, right? All those tables are getting provisioned. All of the app is getting wired up to the actual production version of the tables and all of those things. So let's give this a second to publish. All right, and now it's published. It probably took a little less than a minute. Right, and this was running a lot faster earlier this morning when I knew about this before anyone else did, so I'm guessing that now there's so many people running on it, they're a little behind on capacity. But anyway, things are running a little slower right now. So up here in the top corner, you've got the share icon, and so then now you could go through the normal sharing processes, right? We could grab the links, all of that stuff. So I'm not gonna go through over to share it, right? But basically, I guess I'll just share it real quick. But basically, right, I'd say share it with Chewy the dog. He's got viewer, whoosh. And now Chewy's going to get a link and be able to run my app. Okay. And so now if we go back here to the home, right? So if we click on PowerApps home, it's going to warn me, if we had anything pending, which we don't, we would lose it. So we'll say, okay. And so then now over here under plans, right? There is Smart Incident Manager, the one we just did. There's the Incident Report one, the one I did earlier today. So if I want to go back in and edit, I would use the planner or the plan. And then, of course, here are the apps more directly. And then, same type of experience there. So nothing too crazy there, but I guess it's worth showing. If we wanted to use it, right, we just click here. And then, of course, maybe like here under the share is probably the easiest way that I know of, right? Grab this and say, copy link to play app. And then, of course, if we open up my browser all the way here, open a new tab, and then paste that in, this will take us to the app, right? So you can see it is running in the PowerApps framework, right? Like that's the same PowerApps top I want, right? apps.powerapps.com, and then a big old giant URL. And boom, just like that, we have got access to this app, and we can use it to start to manage our incident reports. Now, keep in mind, this stuff is preview. This is very early preview at that. You should not be rolling production things out on this today, right? Like just no, right? Building apps, starting to learn what it can do, that's a good use. Also, like if you're thinking, well, I'll never make another Canvas app again. Let's slow your roll there, right? There's a lot that we can do in Canvas apps and model-driven apps that is not here. Like when I think about Canvas apps, I think about all my different data sources, right? This is just talking to Dataverse. So all my Canvas apps end up talking to flows and other data sources and have all this complexity and richness and customizations and barcode scanners and all of offline, all that fun stuff. So this app, is interesting, right? It's heading down a new road, but it is in no danger of replacing what we do today with our Canvas apps or model-driven apps. So don't think the sky is falling as you see this. Look at this as interesting. Maybe a new way to build the simpler, the smaller apps that I might have in my mind, but the rich customizations we're still going elsewhere, I think. So questions, comments, and leave them below. Always keen to hear what you guys are thinking about, what you'd like to see. Maybe you want to see other videos on how all this would work. I don't know. You tell me. I'm always game. And with that, I'm going to say thanks and have a great day.